Fire and ice, flames of the soul. She can't control them. That gives us an advantage, came Elise's voice. Mr. Sands had called a meeting to discuss their next course of action. I can't believe Darko has betrayed us. And for what? That girl who is just a beginner? Jessica spat. A look of hurt flashed in Elise's dark eyes. What did Darko see in that nuisance? Elise knew she was better for Darko. For some reason, though, she respected his decision. Stephanie was pacing around Avalon's living room, a stern expression in her face. Stephanie, as much as I'm against you and Darko being together, you need to calm down, Avalon spoke, getting up from the sofa and holding his daughter's shoulders. Stephanie looked up at her father and quickly embraced him. Even though it hadn't been long since she found out about him being her dad, she had turned into a right daddy's girl. Avalon held her, hating seeing his only child in a state of worry, panic and frustration. I need to go and see him, Stephanie muttered. Avalon sighed and let her go. Then go to him. Be careful though, Avalon said. Stephanie rushed to the stables and Lemmercake lifted her head up from checking on Concord. Stephanie? What is it? Lemmercake asked as she saw her rider hastily getting her tack. I'll explain on the way, Stephanie said. She quickly texted Anne to say she was going out and Concord needed looking after. Almost immediately, Steph got a response. Anne was on her way. Lemmercake and Stephanie galloped out of the stables as Anne turned up in her chauffeur-driven car. Thanks, Anne. I promised to tell you when I get back, Steph called. Anne felt happy with this and went straight to her foal. The ride took about 45 minutes to get to Darko's home. She saw the door was off its hinges and panic flooded over her body. She quickly dismounted Lemmercake and ran inside. Darko was laying on the floor. Darko! Steph screamed. She ran to his side and knelt down. He was covered in cuts, bruises, and there was a slight wound on his left side. Phoenix? Darko coughed out. Darko, what happened? Tears fell from Stephanie's eyes as she took his hand and kissed it. Soul Rider? Came Elise's voice. Stay away, Elise. Stephanie spat through her tears. Elise sighed and placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm not here to harm you. I remember. You and me. Friends at school. Elise smiled. A genuine smile as Steph looked up at her. Ellie? Elise nodded and Steph jumped up, hugging her long-lost friend. We need to get him to Lisa. I have my tinker out front. We can load him onto her and get to Valedale. By the way, I'm so sorry for my actions, Elise said. Stephanie didn't fully trust her yet, but she would keep an eye on her. She felt Garnock's influence hadn't left her former school friend. Stephanie had every right to be suspicious, because as soon as they entered Valedale, Sabine was waiting. Your little friends won't be helping you, and neither will this traitor. In fact, we have a solution here that will wipe Darko's memory of you and him ever being together. Sabine smirked, holding up a little vial that contained a purplish-blue liquid. Sighing, Stephanie was ready to say goodbye to him. The Dark Riders took him back to Darkhor, as she fell to her knees, but she didn't let her emotions out. Stephanie had wandered aimlessly around the familiar areas of the island. When she entered Cape West, she went straight to the helmsman who proceeded to take her to Darkhor. She would hand herself over. The Soul Riders didn't need her anymore. Stepping off the boat, the blonde proceeded up to the helipad. She saw Darko and Elise threading their fingers together, which caused Stephanie to choke back a sob. It seemed as he had already taken the stuff that was in that bottle. The pain in her chest was unbearable, like her heart had been broken into tiny shards of shrapnel. Tears flowed down her pale cheeks as she covered her mouth. She just wanted to scream out in darkened emotional pain. He had forgotten her, and what they had. It's good to see you're back to your old self, Darko. Stephanie heard Mr. Sands' voice, and watched them from behind her hiding place, behind a control unit. I can't remember what happened, but yes, Darko said. Stephanie reached for the pendant around her neck, and let her fingers graze it. No matter what, I still have those memories. Good luck with Elise, Darko. You deserve to be happy. I was just holding you back, the Soul Rider whispered. It had been several months since that week, and Stephanie had moved on. Well, more like distracting herself. She was grooming Z when arms snaked around her. Idris, I'm trying to take care of Z, she giggled, turning her head to see the Pandorian's chin on her shoulder. She kissed him, and that made him let go. Z seemed to roll her eyes and trotted off to graze with lemon cake. When Stephanie got home, she threw her keys into a black, hand-blown glass saucer and threw her coat on the mahogany coat rack by the door. When she entered her room, however, there was a familiar shadowy outline. "Darko?" she breathed. Snapping on the light, it was indeed the pyromancer. He had hatred in his eyes where there was once love. "Soul Rider, at last I have you," he smirked, stalking over to her. Stephanie backed up against the wall in fear and turned her head to the right, shutting her eyes tightly. Darko grabbed her chin and forced her to look at him. "Please, I don't want any trouble," Stephanie panicked. He moved in closer, and her heart was clawing to come free. It was beating that fast. Darko placed his lips on hers, and she froze. "Please, don't hurt me," she sobbed. Darko pulled back and he smiled, bringing his lips to her ear. His breath tickled her ear as he spoke. "Did you miss me, my phoenix?" What? Did he regain his memories? If so, how? She needed to know. Thank you for listening to this chapter of Fire and Ice. I am so sorry I haven't uploaded a chapter in ages, but I do have a couple of chapters in the works that will be out sometime on Friday and next week. Keep flying high, my dragons, and I'll see you tomorrow for Wednesday's update.